So, welcome everyone for another episode of Gita Unplugged. So, in the previous session, our previous talk, we were discussing from the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where we concluded with the following topic. If Krishna is that one God, what about others? In our culture or Sanskriti, there are many devatas. Numerically, it is said 33 crore devatas. So, of course, even if not, there are some main devatas, Indra, Surya, Varuna, Vayu, etc. Brahma, Shivji, etc., etc. What is their relationship and all that? We discussed last time. There are four tattvas which are described in scriptures: Vishnu tattva, Shambhu tattva, Shakti tattva, and Jiva tattva. And Vishnu, how many types of Vishnu? Narad Muni describes there are three types of Vishnus: Mahavishnu, Garbha Dakshay Vishnu, and Shira Dakshay Vishnu. Like that, we discussed last time. We also discussed the relationship between the Supreme Lord and the Devatas. And it's very logical, just like we have a Prime Minister and then there are numerous ministers and ministries. All are actually together, working together to take care of the nation known as Bharat, which is still a small tract of land on this planet Earth. What about the whole universe, the cosmos? How many ministers and ministries will be required to take care of everything? Every morning without a break and without a doubt. Have you ever woken up in the morning? Okay, let me ask this way. How many of us have some or other fear that keeps haunting us? Fear of job, fear of health, fear of professional success, fear of relationship. If you're married, fear of married life. If you're married, fear of how long, something goes on. How many of you have fear of different types? Raise your hand. I'm pretty sure none of you would have the fear when you wake up every morning. Aaj surya niklega ya nahi? None of us would have that. No, it's gonna be there. Or not even a fear that would it ever set or no. Let it set so that I can go back home. There's no fear of that. It's for certainty is gonna happen. So who handles, who coordinates, who organizes this? There are different ministries about it. We discussed that last time. And finally, Lord Shri Krishna concluded with the ninth chapter describing the glories of Bhakti. And one of the best thing about Bhakti Yoga is it's the easiest process. And Lord Shri Krishna himself speak about it in ninth chapter, verse number 26. Anyone knows what is that 9.26? How many of you have a copy of Bhagavad Gita here with you? Some of you, great. Take out, a copy. हाथ में निकाल के रखिए. 9.26 Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. It's so simple. Patra, Pushpa, Phala, Toyam. Patra means leaf, Pushpa means flowers, Phal means fruit, Toyam means water. You can offer any of these things, but with love. I will accept it. This is Bhakti. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You can be in whatever situation, wherever you are, a child or a working man or an old lady. Everyone can actually practice Bhakti Yoga. And finally, Lord Shri Krishna concludes, what is the essence of all my teachings that I am giving you? How important is this word, the essence? The essence. It is the most important. To give you an example, even kids understand the value of essence. If you have ever given them a cream biscuit, how many of you have an experience, they'll take the essence, cream, and give you the biscuit. Even the kids understand the value of essence. Essence is the most essential thing. And now Krishna says, let me tell you the essence. What potentially, or what could really be the essence of Bhagavad Gita if I ask you? What could be really the essence of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is said to be a knowledge which gives you knowledge about everything. It can solve all problems of your life. So what according to you could be the essence? Essence Bhakti. What else? Essence of Bhakti, Bhagavad Gita is no problems in your life if you take my shelter. What else? So Krishna says the essence of Bhagavad Gita, or essence of all my knowledge is, please repeat after me, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mam Evaishasi Yuktvevam Atmana Matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. 9.34, Krishna concludes this way. And then Arjuna began to ponder, my dear Lord, you are saying that always think of you. How can I fix my mind? In other words, how can I always think of you? And for that purpose, Lord Shri Krishna begins to speak the 10th chapter. And it's a very relevant and important question because we all need some impetus and inspiration or experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that, we remember Him. Imagine you go to a temple, you offer a prayer, and next day your prayer gets fulfilled. How many of you agree? Because of this experience, your remembrance and your absorption would increase in remembering the Lord. So there needs to be some impetus, there needs to be some experience through which we can fix our mind on Krishna. So that was the question that Arjuna asked, and Lord Shri Krishna now begins to speak the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita titled as The Opulences of the Lord. Two things is a big chapter, but there are two main things that Krishna talks about here. Why he discusses his opulences? Krishna says, by understanding my opulences, you will be able to fix your mind on me. In other words, whenever and wherever you see any opulence is nothing but a figment of my opulence, a spark of my opulence being reflected in that particular situation and circumstances. And to help us understand, Krishna teaches two important things in this chapter. First, to understand how he is the source of everything and how he can be perceived within everything. I'll repeat again. Krishna teaches two things in this chapter. How he is the source of everything and how he can be perceived within everything. And that's the subject matter of 10th chapter. To give you an example, so that it becomes a little easy, Srila Prabhupada was walking on a beach at San Francisco beach, early in the morning, and there was a beautiful sunrise. And one of the devotees who followed Srila Prabhupada told him, Swamiji, look, what a beautiful sunrise. Opulence. I mean, if in case you've ever been at a beach in the morning hour, people don't want to miss out the sunrise at beach. It's very beautiful. Prabhupada immediately looked at it, raised his cane, and he said, oh, if the painting is so beautiful, how beautiful must be the painter? This is the point about understanding the opulences and also seeing Krishna within everything. Prabhupada didn't only saw the opulence, the beauty, Prabhupada also saw who is the person behind the beauty. That is the subject matter of 10th chapter. Those who understand that, in that way can perceive. Because the idea is, how can I fix my mind? One who understands the opulences of the Lord can now easily fix the mind on the Lord. So there are three sections in this chapter. It has 42 verses and three sections. C is the acronym with S, source of everything, essence of Gita, and everywhere. Let's take a look. Let's begin with source of everything. Text number 1 to 7. And it begins with Lord Shri Krishna speaking to Arjuna, saying, Arjuna, hear again. Please repeat after me. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Bhuya eva mahabhao Shrinu me paramam vachaha Yatte aham priyamanaya Vakshyami hitakamyaya. The Supreme Lord said, listen again. Shunu me paramam vacha. Hear me again. O mighty armed Arjuna Mahabhaho, because you're my dear friend. Yatte aham priyamanaya. You're my dear friends. For your benefit. Hit kamaya. For your benefit. I shall speak to you further. Giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. So, in the previous chapter, we discussed about if Krishna is that one God, what about others? That was in the context of Vedic Sanskriti and Vedic culture. We said there are 33 crore devatas. So, where is Krishna and where are other devatas? Now, we're going to expand this context and we're going to make this context we're going to expand this box in the context of the world religions. If Krishna is that one Supreme Lord, what about other Supreme Lord according to different religions? So first, in the previous seminar, we discussed about Krishna and Devatas. Now we're going to talk about Krishna according to Vedic culture is the Supreme Lord. What about the other gods who according to different religions are the Supreme? That will be our subject matter for today. But before we begin, once again looking at how scriptures describe Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, this is actually from Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll just tell you a little background here, where different Vishnu avatars have been described. Varaha, Vamana, Narasimha, and different avatars, Vamana, etc. They all have been described. And when it comes to Krishna, Srila Vyasdev ji addresses him as Bhagwan. So whenever it is about Krishna, only then he has been addressed as Bhagwan, but not for other incarnations. Ete chamsa kalha pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. There's only one Krishna tu Bhagwan Swayam. We'll come back to it. Bhagwan. Let's take a look. Is there one Supreme Lord even across all the religions? So, let's start with Christianity. Christianity was introduced by Jesus. What did he say? He proclaimed himself to be the Son of God. He never called himself to be God. Even today, until today, Christians are confused who is that God. If you don't trust me, I'll bet you now, if you have a Christian friend, message him right now. Sir, can you tell me what is the name of your God? And if you don't get different answers from different people, then you come to me. Most of the people are going to come and tell you Jesus is God. And ask them where in Bible it was ever said Jesus is God. He always said, I am the Son of God. Now, who is the Father? I have spoken to many Christians. I don't know for whom they fight when they don't know who is God. And I have to tell them who is God. You know who is God? What was Jesus' name? Jesus Christ. Jesus said the name of the Father is Christ. And that's how his name became Jesus Christ. Now you have your name and you have a surname. So Jesus is the name of the Son and is followed by the name of the Father. So who is the Father? The Christ. So in Christianity, in the old days, when they had some understanding of Bible, so they used to worship Christ. Now the problem is, if you go in any church, there is no Christ. There is only cross. Or there is the mother of Jesus. There is another branch of Christianity. Or else there is Jesus being crucified. There is no information of the God in the whole of the church. The most holiest thing in the church is Bible. Bible is the God. So they are reading through something, they're following something, but they have no idea. There is no picture of God. Have you seen any picture of God in Christianity? Or any way, direct reference of it? So Srila Prabhupada ji speaks about the history of the word Christ. And Prabhupada said, Christ comes from the word Christo. And Christo is a mispronounced way of Krishna. We have spoken in the past of language inflection. From north, if you go to south, particularly Tamil Nadu, if your name is Krishna, you become Krishnan. If you are Rama, you become Raman. If you are Mayank, you become Mayankan. So N gets added. And from Chennai, if you go to China, if your name is Rama, you become Lama. Dalai Lama. There also they're worshipping Rama only, but call him Dalai Lama. Okay. Anyways, we discussed that in Ramayana. So there's a concept of language inflection. So that Krishna becomes Christo, and Christo is the root word which they believe to be for Christ. Christo is the Latin word from where the Christ has been derived, like that. So anyways, Bible is given by Jesus, and Jesus himself said, I'm the Son of God, I'm not the God. All right. Let's go to Islam. Prophet Muhammad, was he the God? He said, I'm a prophet. I'm introducing you to the teachings of the God who Prophet Muhammad called as Allah. Fine. Moses, who was Moses? He said, I'm the messenger of God. Guru Nanak Ji, great spiritual teacher. And down the line, we had a book called as Guru Granth Sahib, the 11th and the final Guru. After that, no more living Gurus. Otherwise, prior to that, they always had a living Guru. And then the last Guru, Guru Gobind Ji, right? Guru Gobind Ji decided that now no more, and first because, Islamic invasion was there. And then he said, Guru Granth will be the Guru forever now. Like that. We have another, these all have started religions, From Jesus started Christianity, from Prophet Muhammad started Islam, from Moses started Judaism, then you have from Guru Nanak Ji started Sikhism, then you have Buddha starting from Buddhism. He taught meditation, renunciation. Then we have Jainism, started by Mahavir Jain. Liberated, perfected soul. If you see, none of them, Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, Moses, Guru Nanak Ji, Buddha, or our Mahavir Jain, none of them declare to be God. So question comes, who is Bhagavan? However, when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, and when Krishna is addressed by Srila Vyasdev while he is composing Bhagavad Gita part of Bhishma Parva, Mahabharata, only when it comes to Krishna he calls Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. When Arjuna speaks, Arjuna Vacha. And we have made a point, Bhagavad Gita is the only book that we have which has been directly spoken by the Lord. Everything else have been the message of God, but not spoken directly about God. So now we come to the point, what is the scientific evidence that Krishna is the Bhagavan? Is there any doubt about the word Bhagavan? Bhagavan means Supreme Lord, is that clear? Now the word Bhagavan has a meaning, but Bhagavan should also have some parameters that declare that somebody who has these parameters can become Bhagavan. For example, you say somebody is a director. Or not a director, let's say somebody is a CEO. We understand CEO is the owner, maybe we call it like that. So somebody is a CEO means it will have some parameters to fulfill to be a CEO, right? Not that because you say CEO, he becomes CEO. Similarly, somebody can be tagged Bhagavan only if he fulfills certain criteria. So what are the criteria of the word Bhagavan has been described by the father of Srila Vyasa. Anyone knows the name of father of Srila Vyasa? Parasar Muni, who had written a book called as Vishnu Puran. And there he gives 6 parameters. If you fulfill all the 6 conditions, then you fulfill the definition of Bhagavan. Are you ready? So let's see who is Bhagavan now. Please repeat after me the verse loudly. Aishwarasya samagrasya. थोड़ा जोर से लगना चाहिए उत्साह है, इच्छुकता है जानने के लिए. ऐश्वर्यस्य समाग्रस्य वीरयस्य यशशाश्रियः ज्ञानवैरागयश्चैव सन्नाभागा इत्यङ्गणा. Aishwarasya. Aishwarya means opulence or wealth. Samagrasya. I'll come to the word samagrasya in a short while. Okay? I'm sitting so I can't turn much, but hopefully you're following the word. Aishwarasya means opulence or wealth. Viryasya means Virta, strength, valor. Yash, fame. Shri, beauty. Gyan, knowledge. Vairagya, renunciation. Aishwarasya, Viryasya, Yashasha, Shriya, Jnana, Vairagya. These six, Cha, Aiva. Cha means and. Eva means certainly. I mean, and certainly has no other meaning. It's same only. And means together. Certainly means obviously. So the word Chaiva, which is being used by Parashar Muni, which means there is no scope of doubt. You understand the logic, you have an and all logic in a math. When you say and, which means together have to be fulfilled. Cha means and. Eva, I'm trying to help you understand Sanskrit a little bit. Eva means certainly. It is not only and, it is and certainly. Sannam bhaga itingana, which means जिस व्यक्ति के पास ये 6 ऑपुलेंसेस हैं, प्रश्न बनता है कितनी मात्रा में? ये 6 के 6 ऑपुलेंस तो हमारे पास भी हो सकते हैं, हम भी थोड़े बहुत से वैरागी तो है ही ना भाई, ज्यादा नहीं थोड़े तो हैं, खूबसूरत ज्यादा नहीं थोड़े तो सही, बुद्धिमान ज्यादा नहीं थोड़े तो सही. We have all of it, the strength, beauty, fame, what not. So now we have 6 opulences, but question comes, how much proportion? And that is a word called as samagrasya, which means 100%. Samagrasya means full. If somebody who has these 6 parameters in full can be qualified to call as Bhagwan. Is that clear? What are the 6 parameters? Wealth, virya, strength, fame, Shri, beauty, Jnana, knowledge, and Vairagya is renunciation. Now that's an interesting definition, because one who has beauty, Vairagya is difficult. One who has wealth, money, renunciation is difficult. So all the first 5 are okay. Aishwarasya, Viryasya, Yashasha, Shriya, Jnana. But when you have 5 or any of the 5, renunciation doesn't come. Matlab, have everything and yet not enjoy anything is very difficult. So very interesting definition. Let's take a look at it. If Krishna fulfills this definition or not. And you can use this definition apply to anyone who claims to be God. Okay? First opulence of God is wealth. Who's sitting somewhere at the, looks like somebody sitting at the feet of Narayan. Who is that? Lakshmi. Dhan sampati ghar aave, jai jagadish hare. जिस लक्ष्मी की आशा में हम दिवाली के दिवस पर अपने घर के सारे दरवाजे खिड़कियां खोल देते हैं, फिर साल में एक लौता दिन ऐसा होता है जब हमें चोर का डर नहीं होता. I mean, I don't know if that happens today or not, but in those days when I was growing up, I saw that. And one day I asked my mother, I said, every day you lock it, why do you open today? बेटा ना जाने कौन सी खिड़की से लक्ष्मी आ जाए. So we should keep all doors, all windows open. We don't know from which door or which window Lakshmi may come. That was an understanding. And look, where is Mother Lakshmi? Let's take a look at this particular relationship. Please repeat very beautiful verses. Chintamani prakara satma shukalpa vriksha Lakshavratesha surabhi abhipalayantam Lakshmi sahastra shata sambrama sevyamanam Govindamadi purusham amaham bhajami. I'll make it short, not going too much detail. Chintamani prakara sadmashu kalpa vriksha. The every sand particle is like Chintamani. Every tree is like a kalpa vriksha. Lakshavrateshu surabhi. There is not one surabhi. In that land, there are lakhs of surabhi. Surabhi abhipalayantam. who are wandering around. Surbi, the mother of all the cows, wish fulfilling. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam. Lakshmi, not one Lakshmi, Sahasra Sat. Sat means century, Sahasra means thousand, which means 100,000 and more. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam. Hundreds and thousands of Mother Lakshmis are engaged in service of whose? Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. This is a verse spoken none other than by Brahmaji. And he is saying, I worship the primeval Lord, Govindam Adi. Adi Dev, declared by Brahmaji, is Govinda, who is worshipped by millions of Lakshmi. Now, nobody can beat him in his wealth now. Yes or no? All right, Shastra Praman. All right. So that was about Ashwarasya. Let's go to the next is strength. It's a very famous pastime of Krishna, 7 years, 7 months, 7 days old, lifting a Govardhan hill on his left hand, what do you call it, the tiny finger, like this. Srila Prabhupada asked one of his disciples to draw a painting of Krishna holding Govardhan. This is in the early days of his preaching in America. And these people had no experience of Krishna, knowledge of Krishna. We grew up in an environment where we heard of Krishna and Rama. We have seen deities of Krishna and Rama. So when he was told that, so what is the pastime? Pastime is Krishna is holding a mountain on his finger. Now imagine you have conveyed this kind of a message to somebody and asked him to draw, and he has no cultural background of it. So what he would draw from his own cultural background. Now if you are able to lift something very heavy, which means, and he drew a Krishna with the nice hefty muscles and a six-pack chest. And Prabhupada said, no, Krishna doesn't need hefty muscles or six-pack to be able to lift Govardhan. And Prabhupada rejected that painting. Krishna can effortlessly pick it. For example, Putana. Krishna was just 2 days old when Putana witch came to kill Krishna. And ultimately she was killed by Krishna. So many demons had come, particularly in whole of Vrindavan Leela. Krishna had almost on everyday basis killed a demon. But not even once he had used a weapon. Even not while killing Kamsa, the strongest of all. Krishna killed Kamsa just by a tight slap underneath his left ear. He hit him over here, like this, right? Hit him, and he died on the spot. And Krishna was just an 11-year-old boy. I mean, his hands were as soft as lotus, as Mother Yashoda would describe. Imagine a child hitting you. Would you die like this? So, strength, all the demons and all that. So, who can beat him on strength like this? Let's move forward. Third, and by the way, this is not something which he exhibited in the later on stages. His strength was depicted from the very first day he appeared. That's the point here. All right, fame. So many people in this world come and become famous. Some are called as the god of the cricket, or the god of whatever your favorite sport is, or maybe the famous star of the Hollywood and Bollywood. But for how long that fame lasts? Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. We still celebrate his birthday, although he is not physically present. With such a pomp, with such a great festivity. Krishna appeared and concluded his pastimes approximately 5,000 years ago. But still, there are great, great devotees of the Lord who come again and again and compose beautiful songs in the glories of Krishna. We are in a very pious land, a very holy land of Pune, which is right next to Dehu, which is a birthplace, or was a birthplace of a great devotee, Sant Tukaram, who just few kilometers away from here wrote beautiful abhangas in the glories of Vitthal or Lord Shri Krishna, like this. And Krishna would songs would be written on his stealing, and he would be glorified. If Krishna ran away from the battle, just like he ran away from the battle with Jarasandha, he has been glorified as a ranchor. Krishna will do a mischief. For that, a song will be written and he'll be glorified. And that glories are only increasing. That is called as fame forever, never dies. Unlimited songs, unlimited devotees. Beauty. It is said when Krishna will enter the forest groves of Vrindavan, all the birds, creepers will get so attracted to beauty of Krishna that all the branches will bow down to touch the feet of Krishna. All the trees will sprinkle their leaves on the ground so Krishna doesn't have to step on the ground, and every feet has to be on the leaves of the flowers of the trees. The honey bees who never leaves the association of the lotus flower. Honeybee is so attracted to the honey of the lotus, even in the evening time when the lotus closes, honeybee remains within the lotus and keep humming. Even that honeybee, when Krishna will come out in the forest, will leave the lotus, will come running towards the beautiful face of Krishna. Mother Rukmani has been described as a most beautiful person. And that Mother Rukmani, when she heard about the glories of Krishna, decided to get married to Krishna. So when Krishna had decided to kidnap Mother Rukmani, it was a plan of Mother Rukmani. Just to give you an explanation, a little example of her beauty. Nobody had seen Mother Rukmani before. And she was supposed to get married to Shishupal. Because Rukmani's brother, Rukmi, had planned this sinister marriage. So let's say tomorrow is the marriage. Later in the evening there was a marriage. And in the morning, according to the tradition of their family tradition, the girl on the day of a marriage would visit Devi's temple. And Mother Rukmani had written a love letter and also had written her plan, how you can kidnap me. And in that she had written, on the day of marriage in the morning, I'll go to the Devi's temple. That is the only time I will be alone. If Krishna, you have received my letter, and if you have any mercy on me, you will come and rescue me at that point of time. So it is mentioned the time when Krishna had captured Rukmani. And that's the time when there was a halla gulla, Rukmani had been kidnapped. So the whole army had actually assembled because they knew, because Krishna had already come the previous evening. And they were alert, Shishupal, and they knew that, something's going to go wrong. So they also had accompanied, but they were at a distance. But when finally Mother Rukmani had got onto the chariot of Krishna, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam for the first time. So now Krishna and his chariot is like facing on that direction. And Mother Rukmani is standing on the chariot along with Krishna. There is nobody else. Krishna himself is the charioteer. And the whole army is standing right opposite. Now, whole army with one person. What can you do? And now, for the first time, this whole crowd of men saw Rukmani for the first time. It is mentioned those who were sitting on the elephant, on the top of the elephant, or the horses, or those who were standing on the chariots, or those who were standing on the ground, the moment they saw Rukmani, they all fainted. They all fainted and collapsed. So much so, Krishna didn't have to fight. He just went by among those fainted audience. And when finally he crossed through, after that, that audience came back into consciousness, and then they decided to fight with Krishna. So that's the beauty, even to which Mother Rukmani was attracted like that. So many examples are mentioned. And one very interesting thing about Krishna's beauty, if you talk about, the battle of Kurukshetra was fought when Arjuna was 89 years old, which means Krishna was also 89 years old. But Krishna's beauty is such, it never fades. Krishna was still 16-year-old. Now, from our experience of life, if you are 24, you don't look 16. In fact, today 16-year-old looks like 40-year-old. Too much tension. People have, lost their hairs, or those who have hairs, they have become white. Something is going on. Why Krishna was looking like a 16-year-old boy? Krishna himself answers in the 4th chapter, verse number 5 and 6. Who got a copy of Bhagavad Gita? Take out 4th chapter, verse number 5 and 6. Krishna says, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. I do not appear because I am forced by karmic reaction. I appear by my own sweet will in the self same spiritual body. So Krishna has a spiritual form. Therefore, his beauty never fades. Similarly, those who become liberated from this world and attain the spiritual form, we also attain the opulences like that of the Lord, but not in that proportion. This is about the fourth opulence, beauty. The fifth opulence of God or Bhagavan is knowledge. Now, on the day of the battlefield at Kurukshetra, it is not that Arjuna had actually, like when you have an interview or something, you get interview questions. It is not that Arjuna had passed a message to Krishna, come prepared, huh? I'm going to have an on-the-spot question answer with you. Or these are the questions I'm going to ask you. It was just on the spot, Arjuna asked, and Krishna began to speak. And what did Krishna, while speaking to Arjuna, said? Please repeat. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshataha yajñātvā neha bhūyonyach jñātavyam avashishyate. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna, 7th chapter, verse number 2. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. And very important thing, yajñānatva neha bhuyo anyuj. After knowing this, there is nothing else left to be learnt. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. I am giving you the complete knowledge, the full knowledge. Who can be more knowledgeable than Krishna? And as I said, if you have any of these opulences, then Vairagya is the last thing to expect. And the sixth opulence is renunciation. Can you tell me, I have particularly put a very interesting picture here. How this picture is related to the concept of renunciation. Vairagya. Krishna is the wealthiest, Chintamani Prakara Satmasha Kalpa Vriksha. We are talking Lakshmi Sahasrasha Sambhrama Sevya Manav. Millions of Lakshmis are serving. Then we talk about his Virya, we also talk about his Yash, we also talk about his Shri, we also talk about his Jnana. Full. And now Vairagya. How this picture actually depicts Vairagya. Anyone like to give? Raise your hand. Let me call upon. Anyone like to think about how this picture depicts? I'm not asking you to give an example. I've given you an answer. I'm only asking you to explain that answer. You just only have to explain. The answer is up on the screen. How that picture depicts the concept of Krishna's renunciation. We have the mic? Yeah. We can give it the mic to the mother sitting behind. Yeah, over here with the specs behind. Piche, yeah. Go ahead.
So in this picture, we can see that Krishna is the supreme Lord, but still he is the rider of the Ratha.
Can you imagine, let's say you're driving a car on a highway and suddenly you see your friend sitting behind in the car. Not a big thing. But then you look at the driver and you see Modi ji driving the car. Oye, ये क्या कर रहा है? ये मोदी जी का डुप्लीकेट है क्या? Shocked or no? Can you imagine? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, kya bhai, there were no qualified charioteers? Is Modi ji only driver? Nobody else knows driving? What, at that point of time, nobody else knew how to drive a chariot? But Krishna became a charioteer of Arjuna. All right, driving is not a bad profession. If you're driving a car, all right, what's the big deal? If you love driving, then it's also interesting. What's the problem in that? But do you know, in a war, when the war setup is there is such a loud noise coming. There is all kind of instrument being played and there is a screaming, whatnot, war cries they call it. You're standing on a chariot and your movements of the chariot is going to define and determine for how long you survive. How do you communicate to a charioteer who's sitting at a distance away? Unlike in a car, driver is right within your hands control or distance. How do you communicate to a charioteer who's standing in front and you are standing? How would you do so? And he's probably sitting down on a lower seat and you're standing. You know, how would the king sitting on the chariot will communicate with the charioteer in the fight? He will hit the shoulder by his leg. If Arjuna wanted Krishna to turn left, then he'll have to hit the left shoulder of Krishna by his leg, which may indication that I want you to move left. Because there is such a war cry, you cannot speak, you cannot hear each other. If Arjuna wanted the chariot to move on the right, then Arjuna would have to touch the right shoulder of Lord Shri Krishna for Krishna to understand to turn to right. Now you may say, Prabhu ji, वो हाथ से टच करता होगा, पैर से तो पाप लगेगा ना, हाथ से टच करता तो खोपड़ी कब की उड़ गई होती? हाँ या ना? हमें वो कोई ड्रामा थोड़ा चल रहा है. This is a war. The moment you get distracted, somebody will shoot you out. Like that. Wasn't Arjuna aware what he's asking for? Wasn't Krishna aware what he's signing up for? You can't even imagine ever seeing Modi ji while being a prime minister driving your lucha mucha friend. Or maybe the big friend. Can you imagine the supreme personality of Godhead? This is not the only incident. Do you remember any other incident where Krishna expressed or exhibited his complete renunciation? Sudama, the poor Brahmana, when he came to the kingdom of Dwarka, went right to meet Krishna. The Krishna heard his childhood friend has come. Krishna called him, welcomed him, brought him into his room, in his quarters, made him sit on his bed, and washed Sudama's feet by his own hands. Sudama, who had walked barefoot for days together, washed his feet by his own hand. And Mother Rukmani was crying, Prabhu, what are you doing? There are so many servants. Why you have to do all this? This is an example of renunciation. Krishna proves he is thus the Supreme Lord. Krishna shows. Now somebody may say, how? Give us more example. This definition of Bhagavan is okay. And this particular picture proves another point how Krishna is the Supreme Lord. This is right after dust eating pastime. और dirt eating, not dust, dirt eating pastime. Krishna ने मिट्टी खाई थी. उसके बाद माँ यशोदा ने कहा था मुंह खोलो. And Krishna showed Mother Yashoda the whole universe in his own belly. Krishna shows the entire universe. And not only Krishna showed Mother Yashoda the whole universe within his belly. It's the same Krishna whom Arjuna was dictating, turn right, turn left, showed the whole universe while simultaneously standing on the chariot of Arjuna. That is Virat true form. That's in the 11th chapter, which is the next chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Thus, all these examples in summary justifies why Lord Shri Krishna has been addressed by Vyasadeva ji as Bhagavan. Krishna shows universal form to Arjuna. So this is why whenever Krishna's name comes, Vyasadeva will call him as Bhagavan Vacha. Moving forward, Lord Shri Krishna says then, what is the process of knowing one's creator? Krishna says, Name vidhu suraganaha prabhavam na maharshihi aham adim hi devanam maharshinam na sarvasha. This is 10th chapter verse number 2, where Krishna says, neither the best of the devatas nor the sages can understand me or know me because I am their cause. What does it mean by this? What does it mean when Krishna is saying neither the devatas nor the best of the sadhus can understand me because I am their cause? And the simple answer is Krishna cannot be understood. The effect cannot understand the cause. You get the point? Which means you, a child, is an effect. Who is the cause? The parents. Can the child discover his own parents by his own endeavors? If you're given a sample space of 7 billion, 7.4 billion, and let's say half is a male population, let's say 3.25 billion men, and you are told you have a sample case, figure out your father. All the best, huh? Can you figure it out? It's not possible. So when Krishna says, Name vidusur Prabhavam na Mahashi, in other words, not the Devtas nor the Sadhus can know me. It only summarizes, or it only means you and I, nobody can understand Krishna by our own endeavors. Krishna can only be understood when he reveals oneself, as Krishna revealed to Arjuna, and through that Bhagavad Gita, we can understand who Krishna is, not by our empirical or research methods like this. Then Arjuna pondered and he thought, what will be the result of knowing you, my dear Lord? And then Krishna said, the result is one who knows me will be free from all sinful reactions and there would only be auspiciousness in his life. Prabhupada writes a very beautiful purport to 10th chapter, verse number 7. What will be the result of knowing Krishna? Prabhupada says, people say God is great, but they do not know how great is God. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. So, my question to all of you now, all of you know God exists. Do we really know the greatness of Lord? Of course, now maybe we know something because we are studying Bhagavad Gita, we are listening Bhagavad Gita. But in general, before coming to forums like this, did we really knew about the greatness of God? But despite not knowing much about God, we still had some faith in God. Despite not reading even a single book about God, we still had some faith on God. Yes or no? How come you can have faith? Faith comes from knowledge. When there was no knowledge, how can you have faith? So, if there is a faith without knowledge, then there are only four reasons. And I would not ask you which of the reason is true for you, but see if before coming in contact with devotees, any of the reason holds true for you. And I'll tell you what are the four reasons. Are you ready? There are four reasons when people have faith in God even without knowing anything about Him. First is unfulfilled desires. कहीं से सुना है प्रभु के द्वार जाओ और वहाँ पे डोनेशन बॉक्स में 10 की पत्ती डालो, सारी इच्छा पूरी हो जाएगी. और सुना है जब एग्ज़ाम में फेल होने की आशंका 100% हो और टीचर भी कुछ तुमसे सुनने को तैयार नहीं है, तो एक आखिरी रास्ता है, प्रभु के द्वार खटखटा लो, क्या पता बच जाओ. So because of this unfulfilled desires, people at some point of time in their life go and knock on the door and they come. Not because they know God exists. So if in case, our Hindu temples will have Ram Darbar, we have Shivji Parvati, we have Lakshmi Narayan, we'll have Ganeshji also, we'll have Hanumanji also. So every semester candidate experiment with different devatas. यार पिछली बार इसने सुना ही नहीं मेरा, अगली बार प्रसाद दूसरे को चढ़ाऊंगा. हर 6 महीने में विश्वास बदल जाता है. I am not joking. Think about your past. How many devatas we have changed? How many times you have moved to different devatas? Isn't it? Second reason, despite not having knowledge, yet people have. The first reason is yes or no. Agree? All right. So you tell me if you think that's not correct. Second reason is uncertainty or fear of unknown. A friend of mine, hardcore atheist, opened a big showroom and he wanted a pandit to come and do some worship there. He asked me, can you recommend someone? I said, I don't know, I'm far away. Why don't you arrange a local? I said, but why are you calling some pandit for puja part? You have never believed in God. He said, भाई यहाँ पे 2.5 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट करा है. अगर 25,000 की पूजा पाठ से ऊपर वाला खुश रहता है तो अपना क्या बिगड़ता है? Can you imagine? Fear of unknown. If 25,000 के थोड़े से इन्वेस्टमेंट में 2.5 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट बचता है तो क्या नुकसान है? Now think back deeply in your own heart. If had we been affected by this fear of unknown, have we gone to God because we were afraid कुछ बुरा हो जाएगा? अगर हमने सुबह उठकर अगरबत्ती नहीं दिखाई तो ना जाने देवी जो अभी तक मुस्कुरा रही थी कब काली का रूप लेकर घर में उतर आए. the kind of fear, okay, that is you. Agree, yes or no? That happens? Fear of unknown. I'm not saying it with you, but have you seen? That's true. Okay. The next, ये कि बैक बेंचेस को क्या स्पेशल गुलाब जामुन मिल रहे हैं पीछे? अबे आगे जगह किसके लिए बचा के रखी हुई? आगे आओ, उठो वहां से सबके सब। आप लोगों को बोल रहा हूँ जो आगे पीछे देख रहे हो। पीछे बैठने वाले पीछे मुड़ के देख रहे हैं उनके पीछे कौन बैठे हैं। So there is a lot of space kept reserved for all of you only. That is a VIP quota, huh? That's not only for those who have registered. So आप लोग शर्माइए नहीं. If you are unregistered also, you can come and sit in front. So at least आप लोग आगे आएंगे तो थोड़ा आपका पार्टिसिपेशन बढ़ेगा. जैसे हम लोग होता है ना हमारे स्कूल और कॉलेज में सबसे पहली बेंच कौन सी फिक्स होती थी? लास्ट बेंच. और वहाँ बैठ के स्टूडेंट एरोप्लेन उड़ाया करते थे. यार अब तुम अपना समय निकाल कर आए हो या एरोप्लेन उड़ाने के थोड़ा आए हो, फ्रंट में बैठा करो. अभी देखो सीट भरनी शुरू हो गई. फाइन. The D, U and S. What is S stands for? Social pressure. नहीं जाऊंगा तो लोग बोलेंगे कितना नास्तिक है. नास्तिक भी बोलता है लोग बोलेंगे कितना नास्तिक है तो बुरा लगेगा. You know? So because of that social pressure, people do things. Yes or no? I'm just summarizing. Okay? And T is for traditions. मेरी माँ करती थी. माँ आ रही है कर लेती हूँ जब तक है वरना बहुत डांट पड़ेगी. I'll give you one example. It was a true story in South India. So there is a daughter is getting married, and वो क्या कहते थे अपना फेरे का मंडप होता था ना, मंडप लगता था. So there will be 4 pillars and proper mandap would be set and वहाँ पे फेरे पड़ते थे. बहुत खूबसूरत डेकोरेट होता था. तो वो फेरे का मंडप लगा हुआ था. And mother was frantically running around here and there. Muhurat miss nahi hona chahiye like this. Suddenly, one cat crossed the way. Mother was trying to catch the cat, but cat was running all the way. So mother got disturbed, called the son. She said, somehow catch the cat and just get rid of the cat. The son was too much caught up with his friends and he didn't really want to, really run behind the cat or do something. Somehow he managed to catch the cat. He put her into the bag. Not knowing where to and where to keep, he hanged the cat right next to that mandapam, on the pole hanging out of the mandapam. And the daughter is seeing all what is happening here. Mother called the son caught the cat, and the cat was put in a bag, and the cat was put on the bag was hanged on the mandapam under which the girl is getting married. And the girl saw the whole activity. 20 years forward, or 25 years forward, now the girl's daughter's marriage is happening now. She had a successful married life. Now her daughter is getting married and now she is running out frantically. And now मुहूर्त का time आने ही वाला है and suddenly she said, oh wait, शादी नहीं हो सकती. I remember why my marriage was successful. One thing is missing, cat is missing. Get the cat, hang the cat. Because if cat is there, I remember I saw that auspicious tradition my mother did it, because of which my marriage was so successful. I love my daughter. Her marriage to be successful, there has to be a cat which has to be kept in the bag, and the bag has to be hanged to the mandapa. This is one example of tradition. If I give you 30 seconds, think about how many traditions that you follow or have followed, and you have no head and tail of it, why we do it. How many of you agree to it? Yes? How many? How many acknowledge? I'm not saying you're doing it now, but you've done it in the past. Not knowing about God, have never read about God, but we say God is great. That's the point Prabhupada mentions. Moving to the next part of Bhagavad Gita, the very important subject matter from verses 8 to 11, where now Lord Shri Krishna speaks about what is the essence of Bhagavad Gita, verses 8 to 11. Let's take a look at these verses. Please repeat after me. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddhavava samanvitaha. Very simple Sanskrit. Aham means I. Any doubt about it? Krishna is speaking. Aham means I. Krishna is speaking of himself. Aham sarvasya prabhaho. Matha sarvam pravartate. Sarvasya Prabhu. I am the cause. I am the source of everything. Translation. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Matha sarvam pravartate. From me, Mata is from me. Sarvam pravartate. Everything manifests from me. Everything emanates from me. Iti matva bhajante mam. Iti matva bhajante mam. One who knows this truth about me, what he does? Bhajante mam. He worships me. He serves me. Buddha bhava samanvitaha. Buddha bhava samanvita with emotion. He engages in my devotional service. So here Krishna very clearly says, Aham sarvasya Prabhu. I am the cause of all the spiritual and the material world. I will not have the time to read the purport. I would urge all of you to read the purport of 10th chapter, verse number 8 of this particular verse. Prabhupada quotes various Upanishads where and how in Upanishad Krishna has been declared the Supreme Personality God. A lot of time people say, oh, no, it is said in the Purana. Where in the Upanishad? But Prabhupada quotes various Upanishads to indicate that how Krishna is the Supreme Personality Godhead. So then Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, so one who knows you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything manifests. Can you imagine having and knowing the fact the salary to you is not given by your manager? Everything comes from Krishna. Which means if Krishna wants to give you, you will get it. Promotion is not directed by your manager. Everything comes from Krishna. How? I mean, life would be entirely different. Think about it for a second. So Arjuna asked, my dear Lord, how does such a person lives? How do he engages himself? One who knows everything manifests from you. What is the reality of life for him? And Krishna speaks such a beautiful verse. Please repeat after me, loudly. Machita madgata prana bodhiyanta parasparam katyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha Machita madgata prana bodhiyantaha parasparam. Such a devotee of mine loves to speak with another devotee about me. Parasparam bodhiyanta parasparam. Machita, he is always absorbed in thinking about me. Kathiyantas, he does my katha, he speaks about me. How much? Chamam nityam. Ma means me, nityam means always. He cannot not speak about me. He is so much fond of my memory and remembrance. Whenever you speak to him, he will only speak about me. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tushti, he is fully satisfied. You know, आप जब full plate खाना खाते हैं तो उसको कहते हैं तुष्टि. संतुष्टि, you call it in Hindi, that comes from तुष्टि. भाई संतुष्ट हो गया. Tushti, such a person is always satisfied. And Ramanti, not only satisfied, continues to enjoy. Ramanti. Ramanti means happiness, like that. Thoughts of mine, like this. Anyways, I'll move forward. What's an example of it? Okay, just one point. Machita madgata prana bodhyanta. So such a person is engaged 24/7. What does it mean for us? We may not be able to do it at our stage 24/7. What can we do? Srila Prabhupada says, for us, it means 5 things to be practiced. I have probably introduced this formula before, but you can remember that. A, B, C, D, E. That's a simple formula. I don't think so anything can get simpler than this. Probably this is the first thing you learned. A, B, C, D, E. What is A? On a regular basis, take association of sadhus. Now you have online facility. If you cannot come in person, watch it online. What is B? Wisdom books. Every day read books like Bhagavad Gita, and I can tell you my personal promise to all of you, you will experience a phenomenal transformation in your life. C, chanting. C stands for chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And D, what does D stands for? Diet. Krishna Prasad. And E refers to engage in service. Remember last time I was making a point, we should ask, how can I serve? So that's the thing. E for engage in service. These 5 things we should try to do on a regular manners. That's okay. I'm concluding now. So like this, we can practice this A, B, C, D, E formula, or we can follow this things which are described in this verse. Get in the water, please. That's about Abhidheya. Not Abhidheya, that's about Machitta Madgata Prana. And then Krishna says, so then Arjuna wonders, my dear Lord, what happened to those who engages in your service like this? Krishna says, I reciprocate to them. And how I reciprocate to them? I should have included the verses here, beautiful verses. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti puvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. 10th chapter verse number 10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhaja priti purvakam. जो इस प्रकार से सतता ऑलवेज मेरी सेवा में लगते हैं, भजता प्रीति प्रेम पूर्वक, ददामी बुद्धि योगम, I give them the intelligence, yenamam upiyantite, so that they can return back home, back to Godhead, to me. So I give them the guidance, Krishna says. Therefore, you take one step forward and Krishna will take 100 steps towards you. But whose has to be first step? Ours. Love is not forced. Love is a voluntary service. So when we ask, can I serve? So what is this meaning of mantra that we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra? The meaning of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra is, my dear mother Srimati Radharani and the father Lord Shri Krishna, kindly engage me in your devotional service. It is like taking first step towards the Lord, and then Lord takes 100 steps towards us. And then finally Krishna says, Tesham evanukampatam aham ajnana ajam tamah. I personally dispel any ignorance that may be there in their heart with the lamp of knowledge. So 2 things Krishna does. One, who follow this ABCD formula, takes association of sadhu, read wisdom books like Bhagavad Gita, C, chants the holy name of the Lord, D, eat Krishna prasadam, and engages in service. Nothing is done without self-interest. Today I'm telling you what is the self-interest of all our volunteers who spend week after week so much time on a weekly basis to organize a program for all of you. Why? Because engage in service. When they engage in service, Krishna reciprocates. How does Krishna reciprocate? This is Krishna's promise in Bhagavad Gita. I will guide them. I will remove their ignorance from their heart. I will personally guide them back home, back to Godhead. Now you know why they all are running around and serving. Because that is what Krishna promises. And like this, the subject matter concludes here, the essence of Bhagavad Gita. After hearing this, Arjuna gives his verdict. We'll hear the Arjuna's verdict and we'll pause here for today. And Arjuna says, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So Krishna says, my dear Lord, now I declare, I am convinced you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only that, I declare you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the great sage Vyasa, Asita, Devala, Narad Muni, they all in the past have declared you to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the 12th and the 13th verse of Bhagavad Gita. And in the 14th and the 15th verse, Arjuna says, my dear Lord, now I surrender. I am willing to follow everything you say as it is. Abhi, only your will be followed. Like that, Arjuna surrenders and concludes. That's the subject matter. After this, there is a further discussion that will keep it on hold for next week. So just to summarize our discussion for today, 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita begins with where the 9th chapter ended, Man mana bhava madbhakto madhyaji maam namaskaru. Krishna said, focus your mind on me. And Krishna, Arjuna pondered, my dear Lord, How do I fix my mind on you? There needs to be an impetus, some inspiration, some experience which draws my mind to you. Krishna says, so be it, let me tell you. And the 10th chapter, he begins to describe his opulences. We have not discussed opulences, that will be discussed next time. I'm not going to talk about much of the opulences. You can read it out. I'll give you the synopsis of it. So, Krishna, through this chapter, tells two main things. First, I am the source of everything, which we have already discussed. So, the today's main subject matter was in the previous session, we discussed about if Krishna is one God, what about other devtas? In today's session, we were focusing on who is actually one God, because there are multiple religions. Everyone says their God is the best. How do we decide who is that God? And our scripture says the Supreme Lord is known by the word Bhagavan, like a CEO. To be a CEO requires certain qualification to fulfill that criteria. So what fulfills the criteria of Bhagavan? Parashar Muni, he gives the definition of word Bhagavan. Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Virayasya, Yashashashya, Jnanam, Vairagyas Chaiva, Sannam Bhag Itingana. जिसके पास भी ये छह क्वालिटीज वुड बी इन समाग्रस्य पूर्ण रूप से होंगी, उसको कहा जाएगा भगवान, पूर्ण पुरुषोत्तम भगवान. And then we saw how Krishna has the wealth, Mother Lakshmi. Then we saw how he has the strength. 7-year-old child lifting a whole Govardhan hill, जिसको आज आपको परिक्रमा लगाने में पसीने छूट जाते हैं. कुछ लोग तो आधे रास्ते के बाद ही ऑटो लेके चले जाते हैं. हमें परिक्रमा लगाने में हमें नानी याद आ जाती है. वो 7 साल के बालक ने अपनी छोटी सी उंगली पे उठा लिया. ऐश्वर्य समग्र से वीर से यश. Look at the fame. These things doesn't last forever, but 5,000 years still we are celebrating. Devotees are singing his glories. Yash, Shri, his beauty, and his gyan, his knowledge. He spoke Bhagavad Gita impromptu, and he said, "Whatever I have told you, you have nothing else to learn apart from this. Everything has been conveyed." And on top of having all these opulences, look at his renunciation. He got down on the feet of Sudama and washed his feet. Who was Sudama? What was his value? He became the charioteer of Arjuna. Was there no other charioteer available? He became the charioteer of Arjuna for 18 days of war. Not one day, not half an hour or 1 hour event. And that's his renunciation. Therefore, Krishna can be declared as the Lord through the definition. Not only that, he showed the whole universe within his mouth to Mother Yashoda. Then later on, he showed the whole universe while standing on the chariot of Arjuna to Arjuna. He showed universe within and he showed universe without, means outside of him. So with all these evidences, it can be very easily concluded now, Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. And after that, we discussed about the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the 4 verses. Aham sarvasya prabhu, I am the cause. One who knows Krishna is the cause, what they do? Machita, Madgata, Prana. They engage in his devotional service. They love talking about Krishna. So how does Krishna reciprocate for those who are so dedicated to serving and remembering him? Krishna says, Buddhi yogam dadami, buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyanti. I personally guide them. Tesham evanukam partham. They are the recipient of my causeless mercy. And I personally dispel the ignorance from their life and bring them home back to Godhead. And once Arjuna heard this, Arjuna then declared, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Idam, Uttamam. Krishna, I accept you too with the supreme personality of Godhead. And not only me, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, Narad Muni, all the great sages, celebrated sages from the history, they all declare you to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Any other evidences remaining to be provided? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But there still be people who would still have some doubts. अभी तो हमने सिर्फ ट्रेलर देखा है, थोड़ा मूवी और दिखाओ. So Arjuna will fulfill your desire in the next chapter. Right now we heard about Krishna's opulence or glories. In the 11th chapter, Krishna would show his opulences to Arjuna in the Virat Roop. Now we cannot show you here, we can only speak. But Arjuna saw it, Sanjaya saw it, Dhritarashtra heard it through Sanjaya. You know, I'll conclude with this. There were two people who heard Bhagavad Gita as it is. Do you know who are the two original audience of Bhagavad Gita? One is Arjuna, he transformed. Another was Sanjaya. Well, you would not call him as a student. You know, he witnessed it, but who heard it? Who heard Bhagavad Gita? Krishna spoke to Arjuna, and Sanjaya spoke to Dhritarashtra. So, who were the two students? Dhritarashtra and Arjuna. अभी भी नहीं बदले तो हम किसके वंशज में आ रहे हैं? बदल गए तो किसके वंशज में आ रहे हैं? अर्जुना. तो मतलब समझ गए ना? अभी भी इतने सब एविडेंसेस के बाद, सुनने के बाद ठस के मस नहीं होने वाले, वहीं के वहीं हैं. तो भैया धृतराष्ट्र के पद चिन्हों पे चल रहे हैं. और इतना सब सुनने के बाद अब हाँ हो गया, यस, अभी कृष्णा इज द सुप्रीम लॉर्ड एज भगवद गीता सेज. दैट व्हिच मींस our presence in these presentations were in the mood of Arjuna, not like in the mood of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra had a duplicitous character, but Arjuna had a simple heart. When he surrendered, he was willing to listen and follow Krishna. With that, I conclude here for today. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki